Are you on a forklift?
Yeah, yeah.
You are a son of a bitch.
Un saluto a
Hey,
tutti.
What is going on, everybody? All right, another little impromptu live. Just gonna go over some news in the world of Juventus. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit U20 World Cup final with the Azzurrini in there, and then we're still gonna celebrate and enjoy what went down yesterday. All right, friggin' lootly we are. Omar, how's it going, man?
All good, all good. Good morning.
Yeah.
The season is finally over. I have less stress in my life now.
My triple was completed yesterday, okay? And the shirt fitting enough Amici di Nessuno. We've got a bunch of Amici di Nessuno. I'm seeing more and more posts from the AJC army out there with Amici di Nessuno. It's the way it is. The way this season played out, everything I saw from other clubs towards Juventus, and then in the end, they expect us to support these other Serie A squads. Not a chance. My triple was complete. All three of them losing. They loved it. Loved every second of it. Omar, there was certain Juventini out there trying to not like attack all of us for like not supporting them or whatnot, but like just being like, why wouldn't you want that? It's better for the league and whatnot. And I'm not buying it. I've explained it a million times, but for me, these people might know about the history, but I don't think they actually lived through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, obviously. I mean, I doubt anyone would say he's rooted for Juve when they were in the finals. And in the more cultural aspect, you just can't root for Inter no matter what. I will believe that maybe in the 2003 final when we played Milan, a lot of Inter fans were actually against Juve and preferred Milan to win. That's how deep it goes. And in the context of what happened this season, I mean, City is a prime example because City are being investigated, but the Prem teams have decided not to vindicate them altogether. That's them sticking up for the clubs, and nothing happened, any sort of thing, even similar to that in Italy when Juve were going through investigations. So that highlights the difference between the league and what the other teams will do for the rest of the teams. And no one has done it for us, so screw them. I mean, lose the final.
Yeah. There's no, I just, there's no, nothing that could happen that would ever change the amount I hate Inter and how I will always root against them. We had some fun on the watch along yesterday, taking it all in and everything. I'm still getting comments this morning from the video. Some people just tuned in just to literally go to the goal celebration for when City scored against them. The funny clip would probably be when Lukaku made a great save in classic Lukaku form, shutting down his own team. Seems like every big game that happens. And I just loved every damn second of it. And then the fact that he didn't bury that point blank range header there. Oh my God, that is just spectacular. Spectacular. I could feel the life getting sucked out of the Inter fans with that header stop there when it didn't go in. And I was just like, oh, stick it to my veins, baby. Absolutely love it. Now, City, that's a whole different discussion because obviously Pep Guardiola has a lot of haters out there, and obviously it took him what 1.24 billion to finally get that first one in the history of City. But I like Pep. I like Pep. I like him as a coach. I like what he does. Yes, hey, he's got this massive roster. I mean, De Bruyne goes down and you're staring down the bench and you've got Foden or Mahrez that you could bring in here, and I'm like, well, that's just an absolute treat. But like how do you feel about Pep? Because so many just can't stand him and whatnot. I actually do like him, but City, if I could choose, it obviously would not have been City, but they were definitely the lesser of two evils yesterday. But Omar, what do you think about Pep?
I actually admire him. I think he's brilliant. You know, if you look at the mechanism of football, of putting 11 guys on a pitch together and making them perform to that level, the way they move on the pitch, the entire team, it's not something that's easy to do. And I really appreciate it. I mean, watching his Barcelona side was probably the most fun I had. Just watching a team play football was brilliant. And you know, you can hate him, but you can deny what he is and what he brought to football. I get that people don't like it, but I appreciate it. I mean, even when with Messi leaving Europe to the MLS, that was like a big thing for me. Messi was something I've never witnessed before. I've never seen, you know, Maradona play or Pele or all those guys. And maybe an end of an era, and Pep is a big part of that era and the way football shaped out to be.
Oh yeah, Animesh saying if Pep wants a real challenge, he should come coach Juve. You know where everything started to go sideways, and I got this from some very very close to the club, but Pep was in fact. You remember when it all was going down and we were losing Max the first time, and remember how we all attacked a certain journalist for putting it out there that hey, it's happening, it's going down. It was in fact confirmed, even from everyone I was talking to and whatnot. Some strong sources just recently played it out to me and said that was true because we were talking about set journalist and whatnot, and that particular moment came up, and he said it was done. It was a done deal, and the fact that it didn't actually go through was because of City basically getting out and coming through unscathed out of yet another period of what we always talk about. These teams, there's no consistency in the FFP rulings and everything like that. Now you're seeing even more of it. The evidence is all around us. The signs are all around us. And then when clubs want to form the Super League and people are so against it, and there's a certain group that are helping in this aid, in this battle against the Super League, there's probably a good reason why. Now you're seeing it again, because they've had a rule in effect for a while where you can't have the same owner having multiple teams in the competition. And now they're looking to scrap that too. I wonder why. Because Qatari Airways and whatnot and all that, they're getting involved in more teams, and now they're looking to scrap the rule. It's all a big joke. It always has been, and it always will be. The UEFA is one of the most corrupt organizations out there, bar none. And you're seeing the signs everywhere, absolutely everywhere. But it's what it is.
Yeah,
What do
it's
we?
obviously evident. I mean, there's no denying what goes on at UEFA. They don't need to answer to anyone. That's the thing. They can keep doing that, and the hypocrisy of, you know, judging us, judging Juventus, and saying, oh yeah, you're doing something illegal. Yeah, no shit. Guess who allowed that to happen for years and years, and actually advocated for it and done nothing to prevent it as long as it generated him money. So UEFA, yeah, not a lot need to be said.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Now, switching things over, we're still going to obviously continue, and I'm sure there'll be bits throughout the show where we still continue to love the fact that Inter was defeated. Now, oh, Nima. I got no problems with Nima. Everybody knows that. Very, very controversial individual, okay? And I know that some of our supporters out here feel very, very strongly against Nima. But he put out a tweet after the defeat yesterday. And I had to take a look at this one, and I just absolutely cannot agree. First and foremost, okay. This is who we are. We fight, we sacrifice, and sometimes we lose, and sometimes we win. But we never financially dope. We never bribe referees. You actually were found doing that. We never play in Serie B. We take the L's and the W's like Facchetti, Zanetti, Moratti with honor. Oh my God. Nima, no fucking chance you're talking about honor with that fucking club. I can't do it, man. I can't do it. And again, no problems with Nima personally on my end and whatnot, but come on. Come on. Omer, let's go.
Oh, come on. I like Nima. I think
I do
he
like Nima. Like I said, I have no problems personally myself with
yeah.
Nima. He is a strong personality, and it's not for everybody, and I understand that. But I can't have Inter fans talking about honor. Absolutely not. Especially when everybody knows how '06 played out and what actually came out that only saved them because of a statute. It's a joke. Don't give me that shit. Don't give me this honor shit. And turning a Champions League final loss into trying to shit on everybody else is like, what are you doing? Oh, man. It was
No,
shithousery.
I enjoy the fact that when they lose a final, we're still in their head. Um, that's just it. But I like him. I think he adds color. He's a very diehard Inter fan. So I get the banter and I get how he feels because that's how I feel towards Inter.
Yeah.
So I think it's all, in the end, in good spirit to some degree. But we're living rent free in their heads, even when they lose the Champions League final and we're getting deducted all the time.
Yeah. Here's the thing, and Anthony from Inter Worldwide came on the watch along yesterday after it ended and everything, and I was in the middle of my rants going off on Inter and giving them the big day and whatnot. But the thing is that they actually, like, if I'm speaking realistic whatnot, I actually think they played a solid game yesterday and approached that game the exact manner they had to give themselves a shot. And yeah, it could have been a lot different because City was struggling. City was struggling to implement what they wanted to do, and that was a lot because while everybody was saying, "Oh, City was shit," well, Inter did a good job of taking away what they wanted to do, and City couldn't figure out that alternative in a very convincing manner. Is what it is. So ultimately, they got the job done. But to be honest, I thought they played a good game. If you're just talking
No,
realistic in terms of the game, Omar, your thoughts?
I find it interesting that in the history of the Champions League, like from 92-93 when it was implemented, usually it took more than one goal to win a final. If you look across all finals, there was more than one goal, and the higher percentages. But recently, like in recent years, there's been a trend of just winning 1-0. That's enough to win the Champions League. And I guess I wonder what changed because football became a lot more, you know, attacking oriented and goals are flying everywhere. But somehow when it gets to the final, something has changed.
Yeah,
I don't know what. That's what I find interesting. Inter
yeah,
Inter did what they could. I mean, they did play like if I was an Inter fan, I'd feel proud of the team. They did the best they could.
yeah.
They don't have the players City have to take off the bench, and I'm happy for it because that's why City won. So yeah, all in all, it was a pretty boring match.
It was a sleeper of a game, I'll tell you that. That
Yeah,
first half especially was just awful. I mean, started off with a little bit of fireworks. Silva is so good. Bernardo
yes,
Silva is
Silva is a
so
brilliant
good.
player.
I really, really enjoy watching him play. He almost buried right off the gate, like what, 4 minutes in,
Yeah,
almost curled one back post. If that goes in, oh, way different game. And then I think it would have been actually exciting, but the first half was a sleeper. We are going to get
yeah,
to it, Dan. We're going to get to Allegri and everything else. Animesh brings up the fact that 900 million debt. Yeah, it's around 832 million in debt for Inter. I had an Inter fan come in here. We got a lot of supporters actually from other teams that check out our link. And one of the comments that actually was pretty cool was a Milan fan saying that he wishes his team had a channel like this and follows everything we do and whatnot, even though it's Juve based and whatnot. That for me makes me extremely proud. And we also had a supporter, a member of the AJC Army, Basil, who said, man, I saw that comment and it made me proud of you guys and all the work we do and stuff. That's like one of the highest compliments. So absolutely love seeing stuff like that. That's huge. I did turn him on to Milan Weekly podcast. Hopefully he enjoys that content, but it's pretty cool. Now, how does this relate? Well, we have Inter supporters that also watch the channel and stay in tune with what's going on with Juve's world and whatnot and use us as their source. And there was a comment. I got into a little bit of a discussion with this one. It was nothing heated and it was respectable. And I have absolutely no problems as long as the discussions are respectable. And he seems to think that he would still rather be in Inter's shoes than Juve's. And I said, how could you say that knowing that you're staring down the barrel of 832 million euro debt? And he's like, well, that fixes with an owner. And I'm like, kind of like this new owner? What are we talking about here? Suning just has been in here for a few years. And look at where it's gotten to. I go, having a new owner is not a guarantee. And with everything going on in football right now and more clubs looking for even partial investment, you're telling me it's going to be enticing for somebody to come in there to a club that's got 800 million euro debt. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. For Juve, the situation is clear. We have to just sort ourselves out. But Serie A is in no way, shape, or form pulling away from Juventus. Juventus has been stumbling and needs to get their business right. We fix that, we're fine. In my eyes, this roster we have can compete domestically. And it's not far off from getting back to where we need to be. And if you ask me, obviously, everyone knows how I feel now that the season's over in the summer. I would make a coaching change, but that's how I feel. Our situation's much better, if you ask me. But this Inter fan says he'd still take their situation. Omer, I want your thoughts on the situations between the clubs.
Okay, so I look at it differently a bit to add just another angle. Inter do always manage to find a way out of those stuff. I don't know how they do it, but when there's a big conspiracy and something is happening, something is going down in the Italian league, Inter somehow found themselves out of there, out of the mix. But as far as the situation goes right now, I don't know. They do have better foundations. They do have an established coach who actually took them forward. They do have a management that's functioning and can, rely on Marotta, who knows how to build a team without any money. And if we look at ourselves, then, maybe looking from the outside, we do look like a mess. And you really need to be invested in all the news and all the stuff that's going down to have some sort of hope, which is what we do every day. So we see the situation differently from Juve, but I get why he sees Inter as a more, a chance that it's better than Juve's. Inter's chances are better than Juve's right now, as it appears from the outside.
Would you trade scenarios?
Oh God, no.
No, absolutely
No.
not. Absolutely not.
No.
I could see why I feel that way and whatnot, but I'm not buying into it. Not buying into it. Now, getting into our situation. All right, everybody wants to get right into it. We'll get right into it. Allegri, the offer has been confirmed that there is an offer there. It's around 20 million euros per season, according to reports out there. And Romeo Gresti, obviously, being the one that confirms it today. I believe he's also on holidays. I think Romeo's in Spain on holidays right now, still bringing it. That's just what kind of beauty that guy is. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that he finalizes that he can get to the U.S. tour because we're trying to link up and get together while Juve's in the States. Hopefully that goes down. For anybody curious and is going to be in the area, I will be in San Francisco around that game against Barcelona. Now, this offer confirmed. In terms of Max Allegri taking it, doubtful, highly doubtful that he takes the offer to go to Saudi Arabia. One of the main things for Max turning down the other offers before even returning to Juventus was the fact of his family life and being close to them, and that's why Italy is where he wanted to be. I don't see that changing now after a couple of years. I don't see that changing. So if I would say that Allegri's going to accept this offer, that's a hell of a lot of money. It's even more money. Maybe, just maybe he does for a bit and sets up his family and whatnot a little bit more and gets a little bit more assurance and whatnot. But I'm not buying it. I don't think so. I really, really don't think so. Because if in fact there were a couple of these other offers that were pretty lucrative at the time and he still stayed because of his family, I don't think he's going to take this one, everybody. I don't think he's going to take this one. Omer, we'll get your thoughts before we dive into the second part of the Allegri news.
Okay, so yeah, it's hard to see him accept that offer because his family was like the base of his entire decision to go back to Juve, and the money, of course. So having said that, money is money. I mean, he might accept if it's really, I don't know, 30 million a season. That's a lot of money. He might consider it. But I think there's a lesson here, just seeing now how much as Allegri's stock has dropped in the football world. I mean, no one wants him back. Every fan base would not want Allegri to be at their club, to be their coach. Now, that wasn't the situation when he first stopped working for Juve. So maybe that's a good indication of how bad those 2 years were. To his own reputation. No one wants Allegri because they know they're going to get defensive, boring football. I mean, there's hashtags from fans from Saudi Arabia who don't want Allegri, and I'm sure if the Paris Saint-Germain talks will intensify, and they'll start hashtagging Allegri out too. Yeah. His stock has dropped, plummeted.
Yeah. The birds are back. The birds want Allegri out. Okay? They're very vocal back there, and they're saying Allegri out. Listen, I think one of the key things to look at here, though, is, and I've been saying this for a while, because there's a lot that are hung up on Scanavino. Okay? And why, and I'm getting this everywhere, why would Scanavino come out and publicly essentially confirm Max to just a week later get rid of it? And I said, well, number one, how many kisses of death do we need to see before you understand that? Take everything at face value. There's one constant too that has remained steady throughout this whole period of time, and that is the fact that Calvo and Max, those reports of them not getting on and not being at a point where they can operate together continue. There's only been one report that it's not as bad as it seems, and Max is going to confirm, and that was from a garbage source. So everything I'm getting continues to say that these guys are not, it's not going to work. Calvo is pushing to squeeze Max out. The other thing I think you have to look at here is that rumors now also throw out, again, PSG and potential there, whatnot. You got to think, how often do you see a coach get approached with 2 years left on his contract? How often do you see that? And not only that, but Omer brings up a great point. Stock plummeting on Max Allegri. Does anybody else find it weird that there is even a big offer out of Saudi Arabia? And not only that, but now PSG all of a sudden potentially could come in. Like, if a guy was truly confirmed and he's got 2 years on his contract and his stock has kind of plummeted, I don't see any teams coming in for him. But if his representation is looking for some suitors, then I do. I'm just saying, I don't think it's all settled. I really don't.
Yeah, I think at the top level, it's pretty rare to see a coach move from one team straight to another. There's always someone available in the market. Until recently, it was Pochettino and Tuchel, and like there's always someone around. So yeah, it's pretty rare because there are good coaches around, and to take them for nothing. And with lower salaries, I mean, if I'm Paris Saint Germain, I'm going Gallardo all the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty rare that someone is asking for max when he's under contract for 2 more years.
It's
Uh,
really weird. It's really weird. And it makes me raise the question of doubt even more in what Scanavino said. And I'm not believing the confirmations. I'm not. And
no,
yeah,
no. In
like,
Scanavino's words, I mean, we've talked about it in the green room. They weren't straightforward. They choose this wording very carefully and try, not offending anyone, being politically correct towards Max, but it didn't confirm Max for next season. He just said
yeah.
something along the lines of he was never in question or something like that. Which, if an offer comes in, yeah, it was never in question, but then an offer came in, so he left. That's like easy to avoid if they interview afterwards.
So you're seeing it almost like they're trying to set it up as if to play it out a different angle.
Yeah, and I mean, his wording left it wide open to both ways.
Yeah.
Either way it goes, he's covered.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it
And that's
wasn't
an
like
interesting way to
Allegri is
look
our
at it and stuff.
manager. Yeah, I mean, we always analyze interviews and what players said at a particular moment and make a big deal of it. So why not? That's how you have to operate. You saw
Yeah.
Pirlo in the All or Nothing. I mean, he has counselors sitting with him before interviews, telling him what they're going to ask and what to touch and what not to touch. I mean,
Yeah.
it happens.
Sam, the Saudi king's son is a diehard Juventino, and he is trying to save us from Max.
That's a
No
reasonable
other
explanation.
explanation. Love that one. Love that one. Everybody, let's get the likes up. As far as the Max Allegri thing goes, hey, we just gotta wait and ride it out. But I'm just saying, let's take a look at everything going on and try to make some sense out of it. It's very, very odd. And I was waiting for some confirmations on these deals and whatnot. And now that you get it, like, it just doesn't make sense for teams coming in on a coach with some plummeting stock, unless his representation is trying to find something. As far as the Calvo and Max thing, everything I'm getting remains the same. There is no repairs there. Calvo is pushing. Calvo wants change. Calvo wants to get out of the Agnelli Juve. And he's got an idea. They have an idea. Everybody's been hearing about this Ital Juve connection in terms of players and guys they want to bring in. That is very much a thing. Okay? So all
I
that.
wonder how much Elkan is involved in this. I mean, there's no way Calvo is keeping it to himself. If he wanted to change Agnelli's Juve,
And this is one
Elkan
of the
has to
things.
know.
This is the thing, is that the last time I spoke with my source, he reiterated what he told me a week prior, which was that Calvo has got the green light. When you look at this, and I brought this up too recently, I said this might be the first signs of us seeing Elkan influence. And the reason is because, and everything we're getting in media is different, because it's saying, oh, Elkan's the only one that can do this and whatnot and everything like that. But they don't know. They don't know. Calvo's been given the green light. Okay. What they're trying to do is make Max's life miserable. And I was told they were going to do that in many different ways to try and get him to accept this severance. Okay. And everybody's saying, why not just pay it out? Why not just buy him out? Get it over with and whatnot. Well, if you look at Juve's situation, you look at the scenario where they are, you're talking about a guy that, you're talking about a club, that has a lot of work to do. That's still 120 million in debt. They're trying to clean that up. They want Juve to run sustainable. They can pull as much money as they want out of Exor. They have like a 4 billion net income a year, Exor, amongst all their assets and everything like that. So that's not a problem. But they're trying to do this and keep Juve, get them to a place where it's self-sustainable and whatnot. But saving half the money, getting him to accept a severance as opposed to buying him out, and actually slightly more than half, okay? Because it's actually like, people think it's just 40 million. It's actually like 50 to 60. I think it's like 55-ish to get rid of him, with all things considered. That's a big savings, and they're going to try and do it. And not only that, but like they need Max to still go on with it. So it tells me a couple things. Maybe, just maybe, Max's contract has a little more protection in there that people don't know about. That's one possibility. But seeing Elkan's influence, this is exactly what big corporations do to people when they need them to kind of go away. They start to squeeze. They start to push you out. They start to make your life miserable. And that in getting you to lean towards the decision they want you to take. That is a big corporation move. This might be Elkan's influence coming through, and it's tough to gauge because he's always been a distant figure. Now, the thing to consider is, did anybody else find it extremely strange how Milik was not redeemed on a very, very light deal? Max Allegri wanted Milik badly. And that could be another sign of how they're trying to push him out. By Calvo saying, you know what? We're going to do what we want in the mercato. You're going to deal with whatever we give you. We've already brought in guys and you've done nothing with them. We're going to handle the mercato regardless of your input. And people are denying that Max hasn't had say whatever. It's been well documented. He's had final say on all the moves since he came back. But this is how I'm seeing the situation. This is what I'm hearing. Calvo and company are trying to squeeze Max out. That's what I'm getting, and my sources are staying strong on it. I don't think it's done yet. Omer.
Do we have a giveaway if Max is fired?
If Max remains, I'm giving away 10 kits to start off the season.
So if he leaves, you give away one kit that says Calvo.
A Calvo kit for all those that... now, there's still many in the fan base that don't want to see Max leave. I can't see what they're hanging on to or whatnot, but there's still many that want to see him. But a Calvo kit, that's funny. We might have to do it. And everybody should listen to RB Comps. Let's go. Let's get those likes up, please, everybody. Subscribe to the channel. Going to remind everybody, as Omar has mentioned, if Max remains, there's a 10 kit giveaway. We also have a show coming up with some of the great presidents, as we are the official voice and channel of the Juventus official fan clubs of North America. We're going to have a great show with them in about a week and a half or so. It's going to be live, and we're going to have a bunch of giveaways that the official fan clubs are giving out. So that's going to be great. And they're going to talk about, they're already getting ready for special events going into next season. We're going to talk about the summer tour. Everybody who's going, by the way, Los Angeles will be the hub. So the same as last year, Los Angeles is going to be the main hub for the team, but there should still be special events in the other cities, San Francisco and Orlando, okay? Now, let's get into this, okay? Let's get into this now. We're going to talk a little bit about the mercato and some players and rumors and whatnot. So, today being reported that Pellegrini and Lazio, the talks have not even begun and whatnot, but they should be. Mirko Dinda says they will start and they will do that. Everything I'm getting says that Juve is going to be pushing extremely hard for Sergei Milinkovic-Savic. Latest reports today suggest that, well, we know that they want Rovella. Juve is going to obviously try and put up Arthur, good luck and whatnot, but Juve is going to be pushing extremely hard with Sergei Milinkovic-Savic. It is being rumored that the Pellegrini deal won't affect the Sergei Milinkovic-Savic deal, and it's going to have to involve other players. Now, let's talk about this hypothetical and whatnot. And for me, you can't sacrifice Rovella if you want my honest opinion, because it's too early to make that call, in my personal opinion. Omer?
Yeah, obviously not. I mean, there is talent there. Monza had a great season. He was part of the starting lineup. They did great, and he needs to come back to Juve. If they are serious about this Italy Juve thing and starting with the youngsters, Rovella might be the most proven one out of everyone, with most years in the top flight. So, and it's even not like for like trade for the same position, so you're still stuck with the problem of having no cover for Lucatelli.
Yeah.
I find Arthur is much more reasonable. I would remind you that it's all coming from El Messaggero, and I think they are a newspaper from Roma. They are the only one who are covering this deal so far for the past 2 months, maybe. So I don't know if it's something that they just do for clicks, or is there something in there. Pellegrini would seem a lot more logical, and maybe I know they want Milik too, but they'll probably buy him straight from Marseille.
Yeah.
Complicated issue. I don't
It's
see SMS coming. I wish.
I think it could go down. His price tag's getting low, and there's not a lot of interest. There's not a lot of interest out there on Sergei Milinkovic-Savic. I think Lotito was always banking on that. And for whatever reason, there hasn't been. There just hasn't been a
Yeah,
lot of interest in Milinkovic-Savic. And I think that's kind of what screwed Lotito over. And now he's in this position. This would be a spot where Juve could potentially make a big boost, because I get what people are saying, that midfield is not like where we need to make our first priority. However, you do have some other moves that kind of affect this. Like Miretti should go out on loan, if you ask me. This kind of also helps that go down, and allows us to do that. In terms of Pogba, this helps because you don't have to have this major reliance on a guy whose body might be shut down. So the Sergei Milinkovic-Savic thing makes a lot of sense, despite our priorities being at fullback number one and then center back. But it does make sense. And if you could swing a player that Lazio will accept, and all of a sudden you only have to come out of pocket another 15 plus bonus, that's a good piece of business, depending on who that player is. But Rovella needs to come in next season, in my opinion. But
yeah, yeah,
see,
100%.
yeah. Now, in terms of Sule, Nico Schira put out there a couple days ago that he could be leaving this summer. Did not say in a loan or in a sale or whatnot, but it definitely, based on the rumors coming out now, definitely appears that it could be a sale, and they could use him as one of those pieces that they throw in on a deal. Omar, I want to get your thoughts on Sule and using him as a bargaining chip and or a sale altogether.
I don't know what his market value like for a sale if he generates what he can generate in 1 or 2 more years if he stayed. Also, I'm not seeing a solution to a right wing problem yet. Di Maria left. Quadrado is a right back. Sule was the only one who was kind of fitting. Kulusevski probably will be sold, I guess, especially if Allegri stays. So that leaves a hole. a huge hole. Maybe Chiesa goes back and Ealing slots in the left. I don't know what you are planning, but that one kind of seems odd. Although I won't cry about it if he goes on a loan and see some maybe to Sassuolo in a trade with Fratesi, and then he comes back after a season or two. That's fine. I have no issues with it. We weren't relying on him. I do think he's a good talent that still needs work, but it's not like doomsday if he leaves.
Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment. I kind of feel the exact same way. I mean, I think we barely scratched the surface on the player. I see a ton of potential there and whatnot, but given all the assets we have, he's not at the upper echelon of the guys that we have right now, whatnot. And if you had to make a call, because the other names that are thrown out there, Miretti, Illing Jr., Sule, and whatnot, I'm sorry, I'm not getting rid of Illing Jr., period. Like, we should not be
Yeah,
getting. Are we in agreement there? Like, you should not be selling Illing Jr.
yeah. I mean, if you take Fagioli out of the equation, out of the youngsters, the Primavera guys, I think Ealing is the most talented and has the most chances of being something great. Still young,
Yeah.
but he has something special about him more than the other guys.
Yeah. So for me, and I understand the comments like this. I get it. Sule, the exact type of player we're looking at, you promising a player U20 World Cup. Why would we sell whatnot? Because we might have to work some avenues to get the guys we want in. And again, it comes
Yeah,
down to finances, working the deals and whatnot. And Sule, you might have to sacrifice one of these young guys. Miretti, Illing, Sule. You've got to get rid of one of them. Who is it? For me, it would be, and it's a little bit closer between Miretti and Sule, but I really need to see Miretti on a loan. And to be honest, I need to see Sule on a loan. But if he's sold, I would pick Sule out of those three. Would you agree if that was your pick, Omer?
yeah. I pick Sule too, mainly because Miretti. I don't know. There's something about him, Turin kid. I don't know. I like when those guys succeed, like a Marquisio type career,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm rooting for him a bit. Talent-wise, Ealing is above both of them, I believe.
Yeah.
But it's true what you're saying. We do have to find a way to generate money in order to maybe bring in some new guys or sell three players to keep Chiesa in the roster, so we don't have to use money from Chiesa or Vlahovic. And there is a big problem with what Juve can offer, because the player we can offer that will generate money are the players we're reliant on. It's Bremer, it's Locatelli, it's Vlahovic, it's Chiesa.
Now,
The rest are either too old with no market or too young and unproven, so it doesn't leave a lot of room to play with. So we might have to get rid of a couple of those instead of a one Vlahovic.
Now the main thing in here is that the comments are, Sule wouldn't make that much money. We should keep him, but you don't know because if he's involved in a deal and it's a difference of getting a deal over the line, that's another thing. Just like this, Sule and Miretti need playing time if we expect them to be better. At Juve, they can't get it at the moment. Exactly. But if it comes down to the difference of helping the squad now and sacrificing one of them or waiting for what could potentially come, when we have this amount of young talent, and I've been saying this for a while we've been praising Juve Next Gen and everything that we're doing, you've got to expect that at some point, you're not going to be able to keep them all together, everybody. It's just not going to happen. You have too much. Like, decisions are going to have to be made. And
Yeah, you can't keep everyone. That's the reality.
that's the reality. You can't keep all of them. You got to make decisions. And another big reason why I'd probably go that route is because of a guy like Yildiz waiting in the wings below, despite his young age right now. Still, he could be obviously the highest ceiling out of all of them. And if you're looking at midfielders, that's why I'd probably lean on keeping Moretti as our property. And a guy like Yildiz gives me a little more freedom with one of the guys up top. That's just me talking, whatnot. But there's no way we're going to
Okay,
keep
but
them all. And you haven't
yeah,
seen enough of some of these guys to make a decision. You got to make some call. Some calls are going to have to be made. It's going to be interesting to see what Juve does. Now,
yeah.
we're going to
So
keep it.
wait, I have a question on that.
Okay, and then we're going to get to
To you.
Antonio's.
Cool. So what I want to ask, under Allegri in the past 2 years, how many players at Juve, how many of their stocks have gone up?
Sorry, what was that?
How many of the players are worth more now than they were 2 years ago before Allegri came? Rabiot,
Maybe Rabiot
maybe
and
Rabiot. Maybe there are some, but everything you said kind of depends on the coach. If we have another manager, I might be changing my answer. I might be thinking differently. See, and
yeah.
that's a big if, but it's also a major factor. If Allegri is still the
So
coach, still has
Fagioli's
nothing to do.
value's gone up, Illing Jr.'s value's gone up, and Rabiot. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's about it.
So that's why I would say Sule would leave or should leave for his own sake, because I don't think he's getting any better under Allegri or will
Yeah,
in this current Juve. But if we're changing managers, suddenly it opens up a bunch of options,
yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
willing to consider.
yeah. And it's true. It's true. Now we've got Antonio coming in here. What's your take on Rabiot? You think he will renew? Everything I'm getting says that this is yet another one of those max signings. And even for Rabiot, from what I'm hearing, he wants
This is the
max.
dumbest thing I've heard.
What?
Extend Rabiot for one more year? What's to be gained? Rabiot for one more year, pay him another big salary, and
No,
have
it
no
won't be one
option to
year.
keep
Like
him?
he's looking for a multi-year deal, obviously. But what I'm saying is,
No, but
I'm
they
not.
said Juve offered one deal, a 1 year deal to Rabiot.
Who said that?
It's in the news. I'll show it to you later. I don't remember who said it.
I didn't even see that. That's I'm not buying that. First of all, a 1 year offer.
Yeah.
Oh,
He'll
1 year
try to
offer
renew
at
him
his
for.
same wage and salary to keep him around or whatnot, which still doesn't make sense. A 1 year.
Yeah, what's to be gained here?
Nothing's to
You
be
still can't
gained.
sell him only if you
No.
sell him this summer.
Unless all they're trying to do is limit the amount of work they have to do overall on the roster. Um, as far as this, though, I'm going to say it all comes down to Max when it comes to Rabiot. So this whole thing with his mom being in Turin and flying there, like, it's strange. It's strange. But if you see something come out of that deal, and this is why I say we're going to know very, very soon what actually is going down with Max, because it has to do with these deals too. Because I've got that everybody is on hold until that is in fact sorted completely. The second you see a done deal and it's a certain guy, it's going to tell you everything you need to know. There are rumblings that while this, a lot of people aren't going to buy and they're not going to get it and they're not going to buy into it, whatnot, because it's so long still, which we need to get stuff sorted out immediately. But we might have to wait till some of these guys come back from the national side, and you'll get your, like, if he comes back and Chiesa puts in a request, then you know what's going down, like 100%, because we may not have confirmations on players until that point, and that would tell you a lot, and would actually make sense too, because Juve might not be acting fully and finalizing any deals until they figure that out. And if they have to wait till he comes back from the national team, and then that's going to change the whole landscape of how Juve's got to operate through this thing completely. So just keep that in mind, that things we might have to wait until after he comes back from the Azzurri.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not even sure they're all, just working on their future right now. They're in vacation, on vacation. They're going around the world, or some are with their national teams. I think they'll start dealing with those stuff when they come back from vacation. But everything revolves around Max, and we need to know who our manager is before the transfer window starts.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That's a must.
this is exactly it. This is exactly what I've been getting. All the talks about players depend on that situation. But again, you won't know about Chiesa until he returns from the Azzurri. And I would be surprised to see Juve making many moves until he comes back. And then you'll also find out about Vlahovic. These are the kind of things, as they come up, that'll tell us everything we need to know about what's going on. And until we get those bits of information, those are going to be the main keys to they're the main pieces of the puzzle right now, are those key guys and what happens there. Because everything I'm getting confirms all the news we're hearing out there about these guys being unsettled and seriously looking at bailing out. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Mama Rabio, yes, saw the news in Turin today, apparently, to talk and whatnot. Again, that would be a key indicator. If that thing goes through and it's finalized, there's your confirmation for Max. Not Scanavino's words, but this player thing. What happens with the players will tell us everything we need to know if we don't find out something sooner. We'll have to see.
Yeah. How about Zaniolo? His name came up too recently.
I'm not against Zaniolo. The deal's got to be right. His stock has plummeted tremendously, so that's another one of those spots where Juve could potentially take advantage. It's in everybody's personal preference where they place him, whether it even moves the needle for Juventus in any way, shape, or form, and that's going to be just personal opinion. But for me, and there it is right there, Ryan. Fuck no on Zaniolo. I'm open to it. I really, really am. If the deal is right, I am open to it. If the deal is right, if you've got Di Maria that you know is leaving, and you bring in a guy like Zaniolo who's got versatility positionally, that helps. Again, the injury worries, I get it. That's why the deal's got to be right. It's got to be right. What are our Let's talk about alternatives. Because Di Maria's heading out, so let's talk alternatives.
Realistically,
Yeah, let's talk about realistic alternatives. Di Maria's heading out. Let's talk about what we can do.
I think we should.
Other than
We
minutes
can look
wrapping up
in.
for Illing.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can look at it both ways because if Chiesa stays, he can play on both wings. So it can also be a left winger. I can see it being a left winger. Um, Keeping Kulusevski is option one. I don't know if it's eventually Conte. He trained him at Spurs. He likes him. Maybe that's something that would happen. Uh, Berardi or Solini. Those are names that are
Orsolini, I
affordable.
like.
Yeah, which is funny because we already owed him.
Yeah.
We already own him, and now we'll need to buy him. So does Berardi actually. Uh, Besides that, I don't know. Nyonto maybe.
Yeah. I like those
Those are
alternatives.
and Zaniolo. I mean, you gotta remember some of those deals work. This is another way of working in the transfer market, looking for players whose value has gone down but still have something in them, like Juve bringing in Cannavaro from Inter. Cannavaro was like the Italian defender, had a bad season or two at Inter. Stock plummeted. Juve brought him in. Bam, back to world class for no money. So it happens all the time. This is one of the ways of doing it. Zaniolo, might be one of those type of deals where you get someone who's, I mean, he tore his both ACLs, so no
Yeah.
more ACLs to tear. That's good news. And if he's cheap, like you said, I mean, there is a player in there. There is a
Yeah.
player in there that, with the right coach, can come out. But I wouldn't cry if he goes somewhere else.
The thing and it comes down to, which I totally understand. Again, while I'm open to Zaniolo, I understand all the concerns and all the risks. And this is what it comes down to with Juventus. And honestly, I said when his name came up, Pulisic, I'm into that. I am into that. If it's a cheap deal,
I'm not.
I'm
I'm
into
not.
it, man. I'm into Pulisic.
No, I think he played even less than Zaniolo. Even with two ACLs torn, I mean, the guy is injured for most of his career. And at Juve, injured players do even worse. I don't think we'll get anything out of him.
It's
I
even
think it'll be like,
cheaper. Pulisic.
I think he'll be exactly like Eden Hazard for Real Madrid. Just never
Hmm,
available. Never.
I don't know. I don't know. But Zaniolo, I have no problems with it. But the thing is, when we're talking all these, comes down to risk assessment. And Juve's got to start really, really dialing into that because it's going to be all about risk assessment when you have to perform in what could be a pretty substantial overhaul. Risk assessment's going to play a big, big factor, right? So if it's between, maybe guys that aren't up to that echelon, but have been more secure in terms of minutes and physical fitness and everything like that, it's something they have to consider. Orsolini and Nonto, great options. I have no problems with that. I have no problem with Zaniolo or Pulisic either, to be honest. If I had to take my pick, again, it's gonna probably be affected by deals. It really is. You have to factor that in, but clear cut out of all those options, I'm not gonna lie, and it probably gonna be unpopular opinion because you might find a couple of the other guys quality wise higher, but I'd probably go with Orsolini, and the reason is because the when I watch him play, there's there's a drive there. There's a drive. There's this character that comes out that I actually think would suit Juve's mold, the mold that we want to get back to. I would honestly really, really get behind Orsolini coming to Juve. That's just me. That's
Yeah.
just me. And I would totally expect that to be unpopular opinion out of those names.
Yeah, I mean, if we are realistic here and we will be away from Europe,
Yeah.
probably, then we're competing in the league. We know these guys can perform in the league, and there is a value to it, to perform for smaller teams in the league for years. I mean, it's not like Nonto, for example, hasn't played in Italy too much. Most of his experience is in the Premier League. Maybe he's a bit younger than the other guys and has less experience. But Berardi, I mean, he's killed it at a certain point against every big team in Italy. He has the goals, he has the assist, and I wouldn't mind him, like type of a Vucinic. I mean, you have guys that can win you the league, especially if you're not in Europe. Then you go to Europe, but you can replace them. You can bring in someone who's a bit better, a level above.
Yeah.
But for the league, I have no issues with them. Either of them. They're both apparently good.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, we talked about all of them. I don't really have much issues there with any of them. There's going to be some tough decisions Juve's got to make. Rugani's name came up in trying to get a deal, trying to get him sold. 3 million euro salary seems to be an issue, but I said now's not the time. We missed the boat on moving Rugani, and now there's other names that should be ahead of him if we're going to move. That's how I feel. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I mean, if he's comfortable with his position, fourth CB or whatever, yeah, I mean, those are not easy to come by. Either have to be someone very young or very old. I mean, who is that for Milan, for Inter? Who are those guys?
Yeah.
Just And so if he's fine with it, why would I have any issue? I mean, he is
Oh,
better
it's
than he
funny
was.
because like we should have moved him way back when we didn't. Now he's actually become reliable coming off as a rotational piece. Now's not the time
Yeah,
to do it. You got Bonucci that you
that's
can't trust against any opponent. Sandro's got to go. If we don't play a back three next year, Danilo's not a center back. So, yeah, Rugani, now's not the time. People are talking about, well, that stops Houston from. No, it doesn't. Doesn't stop anything from Houston. I don't think Houston's making the break into the top team next season. Despite the fact that there's no Europe or whatever, I still don't see Houston making that jump just yet. I could be mistaken, but I would be
no,
very,
come
very
on.
surprised if Houston's in the
How
first team.
many teams are reliant on a 19-year-old? I mean,
Yeah,
for defenders, they usually rotational. I mean, their career trajectory is usually different. If Hoyson is something special, then I guess we'll find out. But you don't
yeah,
bank on him to be available in your roster.
yeah. Now, Animesh saying, if I were the management, I'll stop buying from Italian clubs for a couple of years, stop funding them, and see what happens with Juve putting no money into the system. This is something that's very close to what I said recently, which was that Juve needs to start being the bully again and not be afraid to walk away from deals and go abroad for players and ramp up your scouting and start doing that, because all this talk, and even amongst our fan base, about, oh, well, they're going to charge us through the roof, like it's going to be this. Well, you know what? Walk away then. Because I guarantee you, if push comes to shove in Italy, these teams will not say no outright to a deal and would rather accept something at lower terms. And I think it's hilarious that we've been able to get pushed around somewhat on some of these numbers and some of these figures for these players. Um, that's just how I
Actually,
feel. And I'd be
we're
fine with
kind of
someone.
late to the party. We're kind of late to the party. I mean, how many teams, top tier teams in Italy have spent on talent from the league in recent years? They barely do. I mean,
Yeah.
Tonali, okay, fine, but Inter, Milan, Napoli, their best players are not Italian.
Yeah.
Maybe Barella, yeah, but he's not that young. But Kvaratskhelia, Leao, Benasser, all those guys, Kim Min Jae, they're not buying from Italy for quite a long time,
Yeah.
actually. And we still want Ital Juve and all the young Italian players. That's fine, but they are stripping us down. It's impossible that every young player is worth 40, 50 million.
Well, and that's just it. Like Kulishevsky was like 40 million. I was like, what? And number two, I was like, why are we even bringing that profile in? And why are we signing him so early into this season? Like, wait till the mercato would not. But then Fratesi even at 40. And I'm just not seeing it. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way that's a 40
I
million
mean,
guy right now.
Liverpool just bought McAllister for 35. That's a
Yeah.
World Cup winner.
Yeah. Like, I'm just not seeing it. And this is what I mean by just pushing back and just being like, no, like, this is what we're going to give. Take it or leave it. We're out. And don't be scared to do that. And back away. Back away. Go find somebody else. There's players everywhere. And I guarantee you better deals everywhere. But again,
Yeah, and try having a bidding war with Roma and Juve. I mean, if Juve pull out, Roma are not paying 30, 40 for him, and the player wants to leave and wants to move on. So you'll have to settle eventually.
exactly.
But
Exactly.
Juve don't act like that in recent years.
Now, we've got Marcos Acuna, single, Mazzocchi, all being rumored. Now, the Mazzocchi one, Mirko Di Natale did state there's nothing that he can get from Juve as far as interest in the player. Single, we know, is in the mix. Acuna has just kind of come up here. Number one, Omer, who would you handpick out of that list? You're muted.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So it's not the same positions. I mean, Singo is a right back and Acuna is a left back. Matsuki is a right back. Uh, I would probably take the first one. I don't know. I don't like Acuna that much. Matsuki, I gotta say, I haven't seen enough of Salernitana this season to know how good he is. And so, who's the first guy we're left with?
What
Sorry,
was
I forgot.
Acuna, Single, and Matsuki?
Single, yeah. So I'll probably go with single.
Yeah, I'll go with Single as well if we're looking at
Yeah,
these guys as
because
options.
Quadrado seems the more likely to leave right now.
Yeah, like, and I mean, if those numbers are right, it's around 13 mil for Single. Yeah, yeah. Acuna, World Cup winner with Argentina. You're going to get a lot of variations on how people feel about Acuna. We're starting to see it now. Acuna's a hack. Single would be ideal for us. I'd go for Acuna, Single or Matsuki for Ryan there. I will throw Parisi into the mix over Matsuki. I would take Parisi. I like Parisi. And I think there's a lot there. Very, very green, but so is Matsuki. Very, very green. So I put them very close there. Yeah, Single at 13 mil. There were some shouts for Single, like past Mercados too. So yeah,
Yeah,
13 mil.
and we still have Cambiaso coming back,
Yes,
uh,
yes. And nice thing
and
about
there's one other
Cambiaso,
guy.
left or right, which is beauty.
Yeah,
And I
and
think
there was
that's why
also
you're getting this list, because some might be, well, Acuna is on the left side, Single on the opposite. But here's the thing, again, you're going to have Cambiaso that gives you that flexibility. Danilo gives you that flexibility too. So there it is.
yeah, and what's his name? Carlos something from
Augusto.
Monza. Augusto, yeah, his name also came up,
Yeah.
not once.
Yeah,
I mean,
a lot of
he's been
targets, a lot
solid
of
too.
targets. Now, little update. We're just getting some updates. I'll just drop them for you here real quick, rapid fire. I'll give you sources too. Dario Pele. The answers could be expected in 48 hours in terms of Allegri. The offers are on the table. They're close to the rumors of the last days, Allegri reflects. Meanwhile, Juventus continues on its way without hindering the decisions of the current coach. Albanese says Juventus took action on Parisi well in advance and has already obtained the player's approval. Relations with the Tuscans are solid. The Bianconeri could include some technical counterparts in the deal. So there you go. I just brought up Parisi, and look at that. Albanese. Now, Chiesa could be one of those sacrificed for Juve in the summer mercato, especially after a not outstanding season by the winger who remains tempted, especially in the Premier League. This comes out by Tutto Sport, though, okay? He himself, when he was questioned in Udine about his future, could not give peace of mind to all the fans of Juve, who now fear losing one of their idols in any case. The player now needs a quiet environment in which to meet again, and that could be far from Turin. That's Tutto Sport, and I think Tutto Sport fueling on the whole thing and whatnot. I don't think anything's decided there from Chiesa. I would be shocked if we get to that point where we lose Chiesa. I don't expect it. If I'm talking about his words in Udine, I think it's very hard to take his words to either side of the argument, staying or going, to be honest. I saw a really, really flat, almost robotic, very generic, plain and simple answer. I didn't really take it to either side. Omer, did you?
No, I didn't get that sense. The question came up afterwards, and then I was like, "Oh, that's what you get from it." I mean, it might be, but I didn't pick up on that. I didn't know from his body language, from the words he said. I don't know. I'm not buying it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not there yet either. I think we just got to wait and see. Like I said, you're putting together a puzzle right now and you can't find the pieces. Okay? This is where we're at as Juventini. We're trying to put together this puzzle of what things are going to be like, but you don't have the pieces because we don't know. Vlahovic, Chiesa, Allegri, like none of it's for certain from everything I'm getting. So we just got to wait. The answers will start to show up though, okay? The answers will start to show up. Storm the barn. We have time to take a few questions and whatnot. Start firing away. We got Ryan coming in with the first one here. Which attackers do you think we will get next season since Di Maria, Vlahovic leaving most likely alongside Chiesa? I hope not. Keane is injured? Question mark. Keane's injured? Is that why he left? I don't think he's injured.
No, but he did post that what they said about him was fake news, that he
Yeah.
thought it wasn't up to his level.
Yeah.
And we don't know actually why he left.
Yeah.
Names for the attack.
Well, we
I
gave
mean,
a good list. We spent a lot of time talking
Yeah.
about, like, Orsolini, Nonto, Zaniolo, Pulisic. Like, it could be that we do that and keep our young guys around. So maybe you're only bringing in one of them. The Vlahovic thing, hey, the names are the same. Højlund, Scamacca. And, yeah, we just have to wait and see. Keane, a lot of people want Keane gone. Well, you're not redeeming Milik. And you were obligated to purchase Keane. And to be honest, in terms of overall play, Keane gave us the most over the quite a bit of the second half of the season. That's just my opinion. But I wouldn't get rid of Keane right now. Why?
No, it doesn't seem likely. I mean, I didn't even think about strikers because, like, I was sure Vlahovic was staying. Didn't think it would be this bad. There aren't many names. Milan were yesterday, I think, from Nicolas Kira. They were linked with Scamacca. They're actually worse than us. They have only Giroud and Origi, and they lost Brahim Diaz. I think Scamacca will end up at Milan. Højlund, I don't know, another 40, 50 million, whatever Atalanta wants from him.
Yeah.
I really hope. I mean, it complicates things. If we
It does
don't redeem
complicate
Milik and
things. Now,
Vlahovic leaves,
Nick's coming in here. Why would you sell Vlahovic to get? It's not that Juve wants
I
to
wouldn't.
sell these guys. It's literally coming down to them turning in transfer requests. Everything I've ever gotten out of Juve's camp from my sources, and even Romeo Gresti talking to them, Mirko Di Natale, they do not want to move Chiesa or Vlahovic. They don't want to. Again, this could be out of their desire, the will of the players. So we have to wait and see. Everybody, reminder, like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're new here, we're going to keep it rolling with more Storm the Barn questions. Let's see how many we can get in here. Pep, after winning Champions League, praised Inter that their idea of dropping striker was great, and he gave credit to Conte since it was his idea. If Conte arrives, can Vlahovic become a beast? I actually said I would expect him to do way better under a guy like Conte because of what he does, not necessarily with a striker, but what he does with his attacking midfielder and the second forward that helps the striker. So I would expect Vlahovic to improve dramatically. Omer?
yeah, I think Conte needs that type of striker. He does well with those type of strikers. I mean, just Harry Kane. Look, overall, the teams he had, he always had someone physical, played with back to goal. If it was Diego Costa at Chelsea, and going even back to Juve with Llorente and Lukaku at Inter, he knows how to use those type of guys. I think Vlahovic can do great under Conte.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have to agree. I do not believe, I'm not just done on Vlahovic like a lot of the fan base is and whatnot. I really, really need to see us play a certain
It's
manner that just helps. And
it's
again,
what I said.
it's
It's what I said
Keane,
earlier.
it's Milik, it's like I'm not sold. I'm not sold that it's just these guys are garbage. Like there's no way. There's no way. This guy was the second name for a while next to Haaland. And now all of a
And
sudden it's just like he's absolute garbage. I can't buy that. I can't buy that. Chiesa.
look, they'll
Was
do the
ready to
same
set the
thing.
world ablaze. Went on a massive run. And now all of a sudden he's only worth 30 million euros? Come on. No way. We went through this with Paulo Dybala. We went through this. Like the list goes on and on and on. There's a common denominator there.
Yeah,
Just saying.
and Chiesa is worth 35 and Forteza is worth 40. That's what we gathered here today.
Like that's
And
yeah, not
look,
buying it.
but they are looking for what I said earlier, that type of bargain, someone whose stock is down. And Vlahovic is right now is at that same position. And teams are looking for it, for like a world-class striker who's cheap. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if Byron come from him, and obviously Juve would accept 18, 90 million, which is not a lot today. I mean, the other guys who play the same position would probably cost more, your Hurricanes and stuff, Mbappe's.
Yeah.
Vlahovic is a bargain for the top clubs right now.
Yeah. For sure. YFG coming in here. Vlahovic, Allegri, and Sandro leave. We bring in Scamacca, Parisi, Singo, and Tudor. Rate the mercato on a scale of 1 to 10.
That's a 3.
Tudor, I don't mind at all. Parisi and Singo with Sandro leaving, that's good. Scamacca, I'm not down. But where are we at financially? Like, are we able to do a lot? That can't be just the be all end all. But if we're talking about just that scenario, not a full mercado, because obviously we would still need to address Di Maria leaving and everything. But if Chiesa remains, so you got Chiesa remains, this would be done. Illing Jr. It's not.
No, look,
Parisi and
it's very
Singo would be
hard.
sick. That would be sick.
Yeah, those would be good signings. Kamaka,
Vlahovic to Scamacca
maybe.
is a drop. That's a drop, everybody.
Yeah, and you're still not addressing the midfield issue because you still have players leaving, only Rovella coming back. What they're doing with all the guys who come back from loan? That's the big question. That's why I can't answer it because it really depends on what happens. If we sell all of them
Yeah.
and Rabiot and Paredes and only Rovella comes in, we need a midfielder. We can't go into the season
Parisi,
with all
Singo, and
those
Tudor,
injuries
though,
guys.
would be solid. That would make it
Yeah,
solid. The Scamacca thing, I'm not really into. But
you
that's a
still
really
have
hard
the
one because it would
same.
matter on the rest of it. I would just say this: that's incomplete. I would rate that as incomplete.
Yeah,
That's incomplete.
incomplete. I mean, there's still work to be done here.
Yeah. We're going to keep her rolling here. I just hope that Calvo's foot will hit Max as hard as possible next week. Do you? We've been very vocal. And you know what? Again, guys have been really, really... the last live was so spicy from the chat and even like us on the show and stuff. But like, it's hit this point and we don't want to come out here and always constantly just bash on Max because it's not just Max. Okay? But the truth of the matter is, like, I can't picture what we could possibly cling on to and hold on to. Like, I don't understand what's there other than talking about his history, which is what I constantly get in rebuttal. It's constantly going back to this guy has won. He knows what it takes to win, etc., etc. Well, here's the thing. It's not happening. And if you believe that Max Allegri came back and they brought him back without the expectations of winning anything domestically in its first 2 years, you're grossly mistaken. They brought him back with full intention of getting something domestically. I could see them conceding in Europe, but bet your ass he was brought in to do something domestically. And we've gotten further away from that. That's how I feel. So if you ask me personally, yes, I would like to see a change there.
Yeah, well, look, we're an open podcast for all Juve fans. If you like Allegri, that's fine. You can still be here. I mean, I want to stress out this is not an agenda. This is based on what has happened. And if Max eventually stays and next season Juve kill it and win a double in the league, I will sit here and I will say, I was wrong. I was
Yeah.
wrong, and Max stayed and proved me wrong and shut me the hell up. Bravo to all of you guys who rooted for him because that was the right choice.
Yeah.
Um, but am I willing to try it? I guess not. I mean, I want, based on my observation, Max out.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm wrong. As
I've
best,
said this.
to my knowledge.
It has nothing to do. For me, I couldn't care less who the coach is. Okay, it's another face, whatever, and players come and go and everything. It's what I see, and for me, you have awful play, absolutely dreadful to watch. You have a locker room that is seemingly in disarray from everything I'm getting. You've got no identity. Very little restructuring in terms of mentality and the psychology of the squad, and all that topped on top of awful records in big games. Okay, and constant measuring stick moments where this team falls flat on its face, and I fail to agree with anyone that says this roster is mid-table roster. Absolutely untrue. Absolutely untrue. Okay? And if we're going to feel that way, then what's the point of a coach in general if it all comes down to the players? And
Yeah.
I'm not saying Max isn't a great coach, because I believe he is when you have the foundations there for him. And that has been done. When that's not there, I don't see him as the guy to build. He is a man manager. There's nothing wrong with being a man manager. There's a lot of man managers out there that are great coaches. But is it what we need right now? And that's where I say no. So I'm not saying no to Max Allegri. I'm not saying I hate Max Allegri. Like everybody wants to turn it into this blind hate thing. No. What I hate is the fact that I don't think we have the right personality for where we are right now. And that's the best way I can put it. Okay.
Yeah.
Does the roster need
Yeah, I
work?
want to add.
Yes. Is it unable to compete for a title in Italy? I strongly disagree if somebody says no, that this team is not good enough to compete for the Scudetto. I strongly disagree.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Milan team who won the Scudetto last season. Yeah, they punched up, but it can happen. And look, I really, really do believe that almost
Napoli just
all
punched up.
coaches.
Napoli just punched up.
Yeah, Napoli got
People
a
are trying to
pingo in
say
the
what
mercato.
are we talking about? That team was expected to get outside of the Champions League spots.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? They totally pulled above their weight with these guys.
Well, I guess
Absolutely
we
they
only
did.
find out after a couple of seasons and some sort of dynasty. But I really do believe most coaches has an expiration date, and I think Max has reached his. Capello was once the manager, best Milan team ever, blah blah blah. Until he wasn't. Until he was just another one who has no idea how to accustom himself to the new world, the younger players, the new way of football, and it just died out. It happens to almost every manager at some point. I think Mourinho is not far from that position, where his ideas and the way he works just is not relevant anymore. And I think Max has already reached that point, and that's why I want him out. Not because I think he was always bad, because I think he's too old for it now.
Yeah.
And I fail to see where he get the power to still rebuild a roster. That's like young managers thing.
Yeah.
You bring the top managers to clubs that are already established, but building from the bottom, those guys don't have the power to. I don't know where Allegri draws the power to do that.
Yeah. So RB Comp's saying is Allegri out, but the roster is not good enough to compete for trophies. I don't understand how we can say that when you've reached the semifinal of the Coppa Italia. We had what? One of the awfulest approaches I've ever seen or a game, okay? How can we make semifinals of Europa League and we can't compete for a Scudetto? It's like, no, this team is definitely good enough for domestic trophies. Look at the games we're dropping and look at how we drop them. Do not forget, in the first month of the season, we had to change our objectives completely. Look at the drop points. An awful Sampdoria. Monza, 2 matches. Like Empoli getting thrashed. It's all over the place. We were all over the place, dropping points left, right, and center. What is at the heart of so many of those? What is at the heart of so many of those? Approach. Our approach. A
Yeah.
simple change of approach would probably go a long way for this team. When you look at the amount of points we dropped and the teams that we dropped them to, I'm sorry. This team
Yeah.
can definitely compete in Italy.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
I also, the way football is right now, that's not appealing. That type of play, you don't want to be the defensive guy in today's game. I mean, it affects who wants to come to the team. Why would Haaland come to Juve if he's going to defend for 60% of the game?
It's not really even for me a style of play thing. It's literally like what you're trying to do, what you're accomplishing, like your approach definitely ties into the mentality of your players and your team. If you are conceding and surrendering to weak opposition, that is not going to come right when you need these guys to be on the throttle against the better teams. It's just not going to work out good. It's not going to work out good.
No, it's frustrating for me at home. I can't imagine what the players are feeling on the pitch, and it mounts. Every stress is mounting from game to game. Every time you fail to win when you go a goal down, next time you have a bit more stress and a bit more stress, and like Juve have with Champions League final.
Sampdoria.
That's just it.
Yeah, like August when we kick things off. Sampdoria 0-0 draw. One of the worst Sampdorias forever. Roma 1-1 draw. Beat Spezia. 1-1 draw to Fiorentina. 2-1 loss. We got Champions League PSG. Draw 2-2 Salernitana. Monza, we had the 1-0 defeat. So you got 2 wins in your first 2 months of the season. Okay? And you didn't play. You played Roma. That was your toughest Serie A opposition. In October, start off with a couple wins. Bologna, Maccabi Haifa. Milan, 2-0 loss. 2-0 to Maccabi. You squeaked by Torino 1-0. You beat Empoli. The 4-3 loss we saw to Benfica. Lecce, squeaked by 1-0. Starts getting a little bit better. PSG lose again. We beat Inter. You beat Verona. You beat Lazio. Okay, things are turning around. January comes. Okay, we could start putting the pressure on. Squeak by Cremonese. Squeak by Udinese. 1-0 victories. Napoli thrashing. Monza, Coppa Italia, you get by. We draw Atalanta 3-3. Monza, you lose 2-0. Squeak by Lazio in Coppa Italia. Salernitana, you win. Fiorentina, you win. You draw Nantes in the first leg, forcing your second leg, which we got through. Spezia win. Torino win. March, drop again to Roma, 1-0. We remember that performance. Then you go on a little bit of a streak with Freiburg, Sampdoria, again beating Inter. So that was good. Some big wins in there for Max 2.0. Then you come to April. Measuring stick match, or month for Juve. And you get one win in the entire month. And it was a 1-0 to Sporting. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. When it comes time for crunch time against the top teams, we fall flat on our face repeatedly. And this was a measuring stick month. And I'm sorry, you watch these games and you recap these games, a lot of it could have easily gone the other way. It didn't. We got the job done in some of them, but it's just not good enough. It isn't good enough. And these are not rosters in these games that are miles ahead of Juventus. They're not. They're not. Champions League, I can understand, because our roster's not there. In Italy, even Europa League, whatnot, no. That's right where this roster is, if you ask me. Do you agree, Omer?
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, the squad can win titles. Eventually, those titles, some of them fail, due to a certain one mistake that cost us a game. I mean, he still made it there to some degree. It's a Sandro blunder there. It's a Chesney blunder that. I mean, they could have won a few stuff. Maybe not Scudetto, but it's also impossible to be, to look this vain on the pitch. And I get everything that happened and the point deduction and living, in uncertainty all year, how many points you're going to have and what's the point of playing if they're going to deduct. I get that, but still, it's Juve. I mean, there are some levels to it, and we could have made better choices. And Max has to take responsibility too. If there's one thing I love about Max going is having that asshole of a friend he has who keeps talking like Max is the second coming of Christ. That Galeone fella. I would be happy to get rid of that guy.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. Now, again, if you're talking in Italy, I'm sorry. Fullbacks, how can you win title? Mario Rui. Okay? That's all I have to say. Mario Rui.
We won titles with De Celia and Peluso.
Yeah, we won
the wing.
This thing with this team not being able to compete domestically is falling on deaf ears with me. This roster is more than strong enough to win domestically. Allegri 2.0 has been a failure, and a massive one. Again, if you think he was brought in with the intention and full expectations of not winning something in Italy in his first 2 years, absolutely wrong. Absolutely.
And it has happened before. It happened to him at Milan. He won the title with them. Then they had all of those players leave, and those were his guys who kept him going. It was Inzaghi, Nesta, Cedro, Ambrosini, all those guys. Gattuso left in the same summer, and he was left with Zlatan, Thiago Silva. Then he lost them too. But when his guys left, he couldn't make that team better.
Yeah. I just seen it time and time again. We are left questioning all our guys, and this is deja vu for me. This is deja vu for me all over again. From 2019. It is. These guys all of a sudden aren't good enough. Like Di Maria. Di Maria all of a sudden is garbage. Vlahovic, who was the second name on garbage. Chiesa, only worth 30 mil. Like, our midfield. Fuck, we won 2 trophies with a worse midfield. We won 2 trophies domestically with a worse midfield. Okay? Arthur was Pirlo's main guy. And I know you guys want to go back to Ronaldo and whatnot, but hey, he was pushed away as well, everybody. So I'm done with the Ronaldo argument. I'm done with it. And the play started to become stale, very, very stale, when Max was there and Ronaldo had come in too. Like, there's problems there. Big time.
We regressed. We obviously regressed in every stat. Every stat you check, we regressed massively.
Every coach had a different problem. Sarri had his problems. He had to go, but he was never our choice. Pirlo had a whole separate, different problems, okay? Pirlo's problem, defensively, he could not shore it up. But offensively, you always felt we were going to score. And he did the same thing in Turkey. He's got a team scoring a ton, but they're not keeping it out. So he can't figure that out. That's Pirlo's baby. Max Allegri, clean sheets. We want to stick to the clean sheets. He's got more clean sheets now, like 19 or something in total, whatever. That's great. But it didn't amount to anything overall because you got 1 point more than you did the season prior. And you didn't score next to anything. And all your key guys don't even want to be around. But this argument on where Juve stands, this is where the fans get divided. And we've spent a lot of time on here. It's all about the news. As far as the news goes, everybody, hey, take everything right now with a grain of salt, okay? I'll continue to keep you in the loop. I'll let you know anything I hear, okay, from my sources. We'll keep you in the loop. Omer, Lou doing great, great work with the news. And, hey, one day at a time, we'll figure this thing out. But start keeping a tab on the players because that is where we're going to get our true answer. But I'm suspicious. I don't know about all you. I am suspicious if Max is starting to get offers. It's not often you see a coach that has 2 years left on a contract start getting offers. So I think something is up. That's just me. Omar, we've done the Storm the Barns. Is there anything we didn't tackle that you had one question right before we completely sign off?
No.
And if not,
No, actually.
then we're good. But absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you, Omer. Great, great stuff. Everybody in the chat, look what you guys did. You just started this big, big discussion right at the end. You guys are amazing. Great questions, as always. We're going to do everything we can to keep you in the loop throughout the mercato. We're looking at guests as well. Teeing stuff up with Mirko Di Natale, Romeo Gresti. These guys are obviously hard during this time, but we're going to make something happen and do some live session. I am going to try to get the 2 of them on at the same time, which would be fantastic. So stay tuned as always. And thank you for the support. The support's been massive this season, okay? And I just want to make sure, take the time to say thank you to all of you, all right, in the AJC Army. The best out there, second to none. As always, no matter what, we got to take this thing one day at a time, but it's always fino alla fine, forza Juve, sempre, all right? And one more time, for our friends over there, those snakes, I'm still enjoying every second of it. Inter. Let's go, baby. Ciao tutti. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. We'll keep you up to date with the daily update videos starting tomorrow. And another live next weekend. Take care.
Yeah.